a channeler and was to get the shock of her life. Love letters tied with a ribbon. Memories of a romance that blossomed more than 30 years ago. Endearments that lived on, through joy, through tears, through tragedy, and proved to one family that there is another dimension, a new life after death. Bette Hedger and Bob Bray were teenage sweethearts who married in 1958. Less than 3 years later, Bob was dead, killed in a car crash at the age of 21. Bette was left to rear 2 young children, Vicky and Dale. For years they struggled, until Bette was introduced to young Colin Shields. It was to become a happy union, one that's endured through 3 decades. Nevertheless, Bette always remembered her first love, the father of Vicky and Dale. Always kept his letters. Letters which promised to care for her, forever, no matter what. It was a promise that flooded back when Bette went to see a clairvoyant late in 1984.
And she said to me, "I've got someone here belongs to you." He was very young when he passed over. Do you relate to that? And I just nodded because I didn't really believe it even then. And she said, "He's a very tall man with broad shoulders and dark curly hair and green eyes."
An exact description of Bob Bray, Bette's first husband. The clairvoyant continued.
"He's telling me that you'd like to believe in life after death, but you're scared." And I thought, that's for sure, I am. And he said, "So he'll have to prove it to you."
Bette was puzzled. She did mention the meeting to Colin, and that raised more questions. Was the message really from Bob? If so, how would he prove there was life after death? Bette and Colin would find out a year later, on the night of November the 14th, 1985. They were both asleep. So was the rest of the family.
And then suddenly I had this feeling that I had to wake up. And the feeling became stronger, and it was telling me, get up, get up. So I opened my eyes and I could see flickering, which I thought was the television set. So I got up to turn it off, and when I opened the doors, the whole house was on fire.
Bette, Colin and the family fled the inferno. All lives were saved, but...
Well, we lost everything. Furniture, clothing. You know, I had a shirt and a pair of pants on. That was solely what I owned at that point, nothing more.
Their lives, their dreams, in ashes. But not quite. First, as the firemen sifted through the rubble, they found a charred wooden jewel box, a gift to Bette from Dale, her son from the first marriage.
But when the firemen opened it, there was my husband's paycheck, untouched inside it. I've never been materialistic. Things don't mean a lot to me, I'm more sentimental. But the first thing I picked up was a little book that my eldest daughter had given me that said, "What is a mother?" And it was all these beautiful things about what a mother is. And she'd gotten all the others to sign it for me. And it was only cardboard, and it didn't burn, it just had a scorch mark across the front of it. And I thought, oh, well, that's one precious thing I've got.
A jewel box from Dale, a little book from Vicky, presents from Bob Bray's children. They were just the beginning.
I had a box of Mementoes in a cardboard box in the bottom of my wardrobe, and the whole wardrobe was gutted. But I thought I'll see if there's anything left that I could find. And I had a bundle of love letters from my first husband when he was in the army. And I had a bundle from my present husband.
Bette found the remains of the memento box and the letters from her present husband, Colin, burnt beyond recognition. Beside them, the letters from Bob, her first husband, slightly scorched, but still intact, still legible.
And of course, that's when it dawned on me, hey, this is the proof that he was around and it was him that woke me.
Then there were the porcelain dolls, more than a dozen of them. They too survived. They too had a connection with the first marriage. Bet bought them as gifts for her first grandchild, Vicky's daughter.
They've still got scorch marks on them, but my granddaughter gets one every year and she won't even let me take the scorch marks off because she says, no, I want to remember how they got saved.
The first item I thought, oh, well, it's coincidence, just a fluke. It just stopped being a coincidence about the sort of third or fourth item, because every one of the items were related in some way to the first marriage.
Anything that my eldest son or my eldest daughter gave to their younger brothers and sisters didn't burn. Things that should have burnt didn't. And yet a television set melted, the chips in the freezer cooked, and the whole it was just an inferno, and that happened in 10 minutes.
Was Bob Bray able to reach out and issue a warning? Why were little things treasured by his wife, his son, his daughter saved? Were they signs that he was still around, still watching over the family? Bet Shields, for one, has no doubts on any of those questions.
Now when people scoff and say, when anyone says anything about life after death, and they say, it's a lot of hogwash, when you're dead, you're dead. I say, no, don't tell me. I know, I'm not a bit scared of dying. It doesn't worry me at all.